Two-handed tapping can be really melodic and inspiring, but it's really difficult to know where to get started if you're not already familiar with the technique. That's why I wrote this simple neoclassical etude based around familiar chord shapes to help you guys get it under your fingers. Check it out. Hey there kids, it's your good buddy, Uncle Ben. When I say two-handed tapping, I know a lot of you guys think about awesome players like Stanley Jorden, Joe Satriani, Hayden Maringer, Francis Bubbletrousers, and more. It's a really cool technique with a very steep learning curve. I know from myself, the first time that I got into two-hand tapping was through Midnight by Joe Satriani off of the Surfing with the Alien record. My family was snowed in this one day, and I spent literally all day with that tab book, just like grinding my fingers to a pulp, trying to learn how to play that thing. And although it obviously sounds freaking sweet, it was a very steep learning curve. So in order to help you guys get your fingers around this technique, I designed this etude around some familiar chord shapes with a really simple tapping pattern. That way you can start working on it on your own and get those creative juices flowing. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to play that etude and talk about my thought process that went into it, as well as give you guys some neck-saving technique tips to keep your tapping super clean. Watch this whole video and in no time, you'll be tapping that ass or your money back. As always, today's video is brought to you guys by everybody who supports my channel over on my Patreon page, patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. Sign up today at any level for all kinds of amazing exclusive content like bonus videos, backing tracks, bonus lessons, and so much more. This week, everybody who supports the channel is going to get access to tabs to go along with this lesson, as well as practice tracks that I made to help you get it down. I'm also going to be including guitar profiles, that way you can build your own perfect practice session, so don't delay. Sign up today. Gear-wise for today's video, I'm playing one of my favorite clean tone combos. It's my Ernie Ball Luke 3 into the Fractal Audio Axe FX 3. Kind of got a little three-of-a-kind thing going here. Before we get any further, let's hear that etude again at step-tap speed. Tap-dad speed. Step-dad speed. You guys knew what I meant. This classically inspired progression is in the key of A minor, and I designed it around some very familiar chord shapes for you guys. Okay, it's based around an A minor, going to D minor, E7, and then it has this transition that goes A minor, A major, leading to D minor, back to A minor, E7, and then A minor. So A minor, D minor, E7, A minor major, D minor, A minor, E7, A minor. So as we tap our way through these things, I want you guys to visualize those typical bar chord shapes that you probably already know, and understand that we're essentially just taking that shape and dividing it among two hands, okay? In the chord charts I'm going to put up here on screen, you'll notice how I've used blue dots and red dots. The blue dots are going to be the notes that the left hand does. The red dots are going to be for the right hand. So for example, you can see we start off with this typical A minor bar chord, and we just configure it in such a way that the left hand has the E, G, B, and high E string notes, and the right hand gets the A string and D string notes. For the D minor chord, you can again see the division right there. Left hand gets A, B, E, right hand gets D and G. E7 might be the only one here that's a little different for some of you guys. Kind of visualize the usual kind of C7 shaped E7 chord up here. And we're getting this low note here on the bottom just by thinking about the octave beneath the D string note, okay? So again, that's not a typical chord shape. It's not even playable actually as a bar chord, but that's kind of what I'm visualizing right here. Now with this one, the configuration's a little different. You'll notice that it's kind of like every other note is in the right hand. So you have E for the left, A for the right, D for the left, G for the right. So these two fingers are kind of spread apart now. And the B string for the left. Only other chord in there is the A major. And again, that's pretty much like our A minor chord here. Left hand gets E, G, B, E. Right hand gets A and D strings. It's pretty simple. Even make up some kind of simple tapping pattern like that, just to help you get used to using both hands and outlining those chords. Now that you're familiar with that, let's talk about the actual tapping pattern that's going on here. It's based around 16th notes. And every one of these groups of 16s is going to lead with the left hand and then have 3 right hand notes, okay? So it's going to go a note from the left hand, and then it's always going to go middle finger, first finger, middle finger in the right hand. So left, middle, index, middle. Left, middle, index, middle. It's not really too crazy, but up to speed, sounds really cool. It's kind of, you know, again, Bach, harpsichord inspired kind of stuff. So with the A minor chord, here's how we're going to do it. And I'll talk about the technique and stuff later on in the video. But we're going to go from the root note here on the low E string, and then again, following those 2 notes that we've designated for the right hand, we're going to go middle, index, middle. Then play the G string in the left hand, B string, then back to the G string. So E, G, B, G. That's the whole tapping pattern in a nutshell. So 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. What I want you guys to really concentrate on right here is feeling the downbeat in the left hand. If I was just to isolate the left hand, it'd sound like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I kind of think of my left hand as the timekeeper when I'm playing this exercise. So really try to feel the groove slapping down over here in the left hand, okay? 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. After this, we're going to shift to D minor. So same idea, we're just going to shift down to this set of strings for this D minor chord. So A string, B string, high E, B string. Okay? After this, we're going to shift to the E7. So these 2 fingers have to spread apart, so they're on A and G. And left hand here is going to go E string, D string, B string, D string. So far you should have A minor, D minor, E7, and then right here we're going to go to A minor again, and then you're going to bring that G string up there for the very last note. 1, 2, 3, up on 4, okay? This leads you around to D minor, which you're going to play just like you did earlier. A minor again, E7, so we spread those fingers on the right hand. And then lastly for this A minor here, we're going to go all the way up the chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Beat number 4, I just grabbed the high E string here in the left hand. And you start over. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice, right? So one thing you guys might have noticed already is that I haven't raided my stepmom's boudoir and stolen one of her hair scrunchies to mute the strings over here. Again, I learned this technique way back in the days before YouTube, and so I had no idea that some people, you know, wrap a sock or a handkerchief or whatever around the neck here to mute everything. I just kind of learned how to do it without any kind of muting device here on the end. And a lot of that is coming from my left hand. You might have noticed a lot of times whenever I'm tapping those chords out, the actual tapping is coming from my second and third fingers on my left hand. And the first finger over here is just acting like what I call a soft capo. I'm just very lightly touching those strings. That way when I come off of them, it doesn't chime out an open string, you know? This is also one of those great finger independence educators because you got to learn how to keep this finger soft while these guys are mashing down those notes really hard for the tapping. So that's one thing you can do to instantly start cleaning your sound up and not require a hair scrunchie. Some stuff requires a hair scrunchie. If it's a pattern that really uses that first finger a lot, it's moving around all the time, yeah, sometimes you just have to. I'm not knocking that. But I'm just saying there's times that you don't need it and you can incorporate it more seamlessly into your playing if you learn how to use that kind of soft capo technique. Okay, tone-wise, obviously I have myself a generous amount of wetness on here. I like a little bit of delay and reverb just to sauce up those clean tones a little bit. Makes it sound a little bigger and less dry and percussive than it really is. So a little goes a long way with that stuff. A little compression also helps too. I've got a compressor running on the Axe FX right now. It's just going to make all those notes a lot more even. It'll make the quiet notes louder. It'll make the loud notes quieter and just kind of balance everything out a little bit. That is definitely one area where, like, you know, solid state clean tones rule. They're very compressed a lot of the time, so it makes this technique a little bit easier to do. One thing you want to pay really close attention to is making all these notes individual, not letting them, you know, bleed into each other. Sometimes you do want that, but in this case, again, I'm thinking harpsichord. That's what I was thinking when I was writing this thing. So as you practice this, what I want you guys to concentrate on is holding each note down until the very second that the next one touches down. It's actually easier fast. When you go slow, you can really hear any gaps you have in between those notes. Oh, that sounds really choppy to me. I wouldn't want to use that sound. So be sure to keep those notes sustaining out as long and strong as you can without letting them bleed into each other. With the right hand too here, I'm tapping right in front of the fret wire, or rather right behind the fret wire, I guess I should say. It's going to be a lot more in tune right there. It's also just going to be easier to press down. So try to avoid going too far towards the middle of the fret or the back edge of the fret, where it's going to be buzzier and harder to push down anyway. This is tough enough as it is. Don't make it even harder on yourself. So there you go, guys, a majestic neoclassical two-hand tapped etude to get them mitts a-moving on that there fretboard. This stuff doesn't have to be rocket science. I remember when I learned Midnight by Satriani and later on like Day at the Beach and stuff like that, I was always really mystified by, like, how does he know what notes to put in this hand and what notes to put in this hand? But as soon as I started just looking at common chord grips that I know and thinking, gosh, how can I divide that among my two hands, you know? That's when you get really cool with this stuff. You could even take a chord shape that you know, and divide it like we did, or put the right hand up an octave. That's a cool sound. You get the idea. Not exactly the ideal angle to be doing this at. But just take a common chord shape, divide it among two hands, and come up with a cool rhythmic pattern and see what you can come up with. Hopefully that helps you guys out. Thanks so much for watching the video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell down there for notifications every time I upload a new slice of fried gold. If you want to get your hands on the tabs, practice tracks, and guitar profiles to go along with this lesson, which trust me, you do, be sure to sign up today to that Patreon page at patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. Well, guys, it's been fun as always, but it's time to get away from this thing and go play some guitar. Less clicking, more picking, or tapping.